I am Sejong, a monk of humble birth but vast pursuit. My name, which has passed through many tongues over the years, is not what I hold dear. It is the path I have walked, the knowledge I have sought, and the wisdom I am learning to convey. I live in the quiet solitude of the temple, where I have long devoted myself to the study of the dharma, the ancient teachings of the Buddha, and the ways of the world that lead one toward enlightenment. In my early years, before I donned the robes of a monk, I was much like many others, lost in the torrents of worldly desires, chasing after fleeting things, misled by the illusions of self and separateness. But even then, there was a hunger inside me that could not be quenched. I felt the weight of suffering in the world, the weight of my own suffering, and it pushed me toward a greater understanding. I knew that there must be more to life than the passing pleasures of the senses, more than the hollow pursuit of material gain or fleeting honor. I turned my gaze inward and began my search for truth. I left my family behind, not out of disdain or disrespect, but because my heart was drawn to a higher calling. My parents, in their deep love for me, did not understand. They could not see the hunger within me, the pull towards something beyond the ordinary, beyond what could be touched or seen. "Why leave us, Sejong?" my mother had asked, her voice thick with sorrow. "You are our only son. Do not abandon us." I remember the grief in her eyes, and yet I knew I could not stay. My soul longed for something more. I had to discover the true nature of reality, of suffering, of life, of death, and of the space between. So I walked away, and I sought the refuge of the monks. At first, it was difficult. I found peace only in small moments, when I meditated, when I recited the ancient sutras, when I served the others in my temple. But peace, like a fleeting bird, often flew away. The mind untrained would wander, and the longings of the flesh would claw at my heart. I had to resist. I had to hold firm in my resolve. I dedicated myself to meditation, seeking to master the art of focusing the mind. For years, I sat for hours upon hours, sometimes lost in deep stillness, sometimes wrestling with my thoughts like a monk struggling against a storm. But no matter how diligently I studied or meditated, I always felt as though something was missing. I read the sutras, those ancient texts filled with wisdom, each word like a drop of nectar that had the power to quench the thirst of the soul. I became proficient, learned to recite them by heart, and even began to teach the younger monks in the temple. But still, despite all the knowledge, despite all the understanding, something within me remained unsettled. It was like holding a lantern, and though the light illuminated much of the darkness, there was still a corner that remained hidden. The great questions, why do we suffer? What is the true nature of this world? Were still unanswered. And so I began to journey beyond the temple walls. I traveled far and wide, seeking the wisdom of other teachers, other scholars. I met with hermits, monks from different traditions, and sages of various faiths. I learned much from them. Each of their words, like a piece of a puzzle, added to my growing understanding. I was fortunate to meet a learned teacher who had traveled deep into the sacred lands of India. He had walked the paths of the great saints, learned under masters of meditation and asceticism, and he spoke of truths that went beyond the boundaries of mere religious dogma. "The truth," he said to me, "is not something you can grasp with your mind alone. It is an experience, a living, breathing reality that must be felt with the heart." This struck me deeply. I had been searching for something in my mind, in my intellect. I had sought knowledge to fill the emptiness inside me, but perhaps the truth I was looking for was not something that could be captured by words alone. Perhaps it was something deeper, something that could only be known by experiencing life in its full, unbroken wholeness. Yet, even as I meditated more deeply, even as I let go of my attachments, a gnawing sense of inadequacy persisted. I would sit for hours, cross-legged in the stillness, and yet my thoughts would still race. The world outside would still tug at my senses. Even my most profound insights seemed to be but fragments of a greater whole. And then, on one particular evening, after a long day of teaching the younger monks about the nature of impermanence, I found myself sitting alone in the temple. The sky had darkened, and the gentle flickering of the candles cast shadows on the walls. I was alone, except for the steady breathing of the monks in the adjoining rooms. The temple was silent, save for the whisper of the wind outside and the occasional rustling of leaves. In that silence, I closed my eyes and began to meditate, but something felt different that night. My body, which had often been strong and steady, suddenly felt heavy, as though the weight of the world itself had settled upon my chest. At first, I thought it was nothing, a sign of fatigue, perhaps. But the pain grew, sharp and sudden, like 1,000 needles piercing through my skin. I took in a deep breath, attempting to stay centered, but the pain was too intense. It gripped my chest, sending waves of dizziness through my body. I tried to remain calm, to stay grounded in my meditation, but the pain consumed me. My vision blurred and my thoughts began to scatter. My heart raced and I could feel the life draining from me. I collapsed to the floor. My body, once a steady vessel of discipline, now felt alien to me. I could no longer move, no longer control it. And in that moment, as my consciousness began to slip away, one thought arose in my mind. Am I missing something? Is there a greater truth beyond the one I have found? It was a simple thought, but it resonated deep within me. I had sought for so long, I had traveled so far, but perhaps there was something I had not yet seen, something that lay beyond the confines of my search for knowledge. As the darkness enveloped me, I wondered if this was the moment I would find that answer. And then, in the deepest silence, I let go. In that moment of letting go, the pain that once gripped my chest, the unbearable, crushing weight, faded. It was as though a veil had lifted, and I found myself no longer bound by the mortal coil. No longer ensnared by the limitations of flesh, I felt as if I was drifting upward, rising gently, detached from the burden of my body. It is hard to put into words what happens when one leaves their body, for words themselves are tethered to the world of form and material things, and this experience was beyond such boundaries. The very act of leaving seemed almost natural, as if I were slipping from the confines of a robe that had become too small. The body, once so familiar, now seemed foreign to me, a mere husk, and I was free. As I rose, my gaze fell upon the temple below, its peaceful stillness undisturbed by the storm of my departure. I saw the monks, their movements slow and deliberate as they continued their prayers and chants, their faces serene in the soft glow of candlelight. The flames flickered, casting long shadows on the walls, the air heavy with the scent of incense, the sacred silence punctuated only by the rhythmic murmurs of devotion. It was as though nothing had changed. They were there, and yet in the same moment, I was no longer with them. From above, I saw myself, lying still upon the floor, motionless. The chest that had once heaved with breath was now calm, and the face that had once carried so many expressions was now slack, empty of life. It was a curious sight, seeing my body from afar, no longer a part of me. The realization came softly, like the gentle touch of a breeze. I was not this body. I was not the breath, nor the beating of the heart. I was the witness. In that instant, there was no fear. There was no panic. There was only a profound peace, a stillness that permeated every fiber of my being. All the worries that had once occupied my mind, the striving, the searching, the endless questioning, fell away. I was no longer attached to them, nor was I attached to the body I had spent so many years tending. I was free. The world below me appeared as if seen through the haze of a dream, distant yet intimately close. The temple, the monks, the flickering candles, they all seemed so far, yet so near, as though I could touch them with a thought, but remained eternally separate. The space between the material and the spiritual seemed to melt away. I could feel the vastness, the boundlessness of the universe, and it was as though I had merged with that very vastness. No longer confined by the shape and form of a body, I could feel myself extending, stretching into infinity. There was no limit to where I began and where I ended. I was the space, the air, the stars, everything and nothing at once. Time, as we understand it, ceased to exist. It was not that it had stopped, but rather that it had dissolved. There was no past to carry the weight of memory, no future to pull with the anxiety of anticipation. All that remained was an unbroken, eternal present, a presence that was neither moving nor still, but simply being. It was not a time of clocks or calendars, but a time of the soul, where all moments converged into one seamless flow. I looked around in awe, feeling as if the world itself was suspended in a moment of quiet meditation. I saw the monks below, their bodies and minds wrapped in the sacred silence of their practices. Yet in that moment, I knew something they did not. They were caught in the stream of existence, as I had been, unaware of the vastness of what lay just beyond their sight. It was as though I had been given the rare privilege of stepping outside the stream, to observe it from above, to witness the flow of existence without being carried away by it. There was no judgment in this observation. There was no pity for their ignorance, no desire to change what was. There was only a deep, compassionate understanding. I saw their suffering, their struggles, their endless striving for something they could not name, but I did not feel their pain. I saw their confusion, but I did not feel their confusion. I was merely a witness, detached but not uncaring, observing the world as it unfolded. In this state, I felt no urgency. I had no desire to return, no need to resolve the questions that had plagued me in life. The questions of the self, the purpose, the meaning of existence, all of these seemed trivial now, like the scattered leaves of a tree blown away by the wind. They were but fragments of a larger, incomprehensible whole. And in this moment, I knew that the search for answers, answers that we so desperately crave, was not the path to peace. Peace, it seemed, could only be found by letting go of the search altogether. And so I drifted, suspended in that infinite space, no longer a person, no longer Sejong, but simply a part of the vastness of the universe. My mind, which had once been so restless, was now at rest. It was as though the very fabric of existence had embraced me, woven me into its infinite tapestry. I could feel the presence of everything, the mountains, the rivers, the wind, the trees, and yet I was not separate from them. We were one, each of us a reflection of the same truth, the same reality. The wisdom that I had spent my life seeking was no longer something to be found in books, nor in teachings, nor in the words of others. It was something that I had always known, something that had always been with me, and now for the first time I understood it fully. It was not something to be grasped, but something to be lived. It was not a truth to be held in the mind, but a truth to be felt with the soul. I was the universe. The universe was me. There was no division, no separation, only oneness, harmony, and peace. In this moment, I realized that the pursuit of enlightenment was not a journey that one could undertake alone. It was a shared experience, a path that all beings walked together, whether they knew it or not. Each step, each breath, each thought woven into the great cosmic dance of existence. There was no distinction between the seeker and the sought, between the teacher and the student, between the observer and the observed. All was one, and one was all. And in this realization, I understood that the search for truth, the search for wisdom, was not about discovering something new, but about remembering what had always been. It was not about moving forward or backward in time, but about being fully present in the moment, this moment, now, always. And then, as I lingered in this state of profound awareness, there was a shift, a presence. It was as if the vastness of the universe itself had called me. And with that call, I turned, not with a sense of fear, but with a knowing. Something was approaching, something or someone. And as I sensed this presence drawing near, a quiet anticipation filled my being. I did not know who or what it was, but I knew it was significant. The vastness of existence seemed to part, and there, in the distance, a light began to form. It was not a light that was bright, nor harsh, nor blinding. It was a light of such purity and warmth that it filled the space with a sense of peace, of love, of understanding. I had not yet seen what it was, but I knew deep within that I was about to encounter something that would change everything I had ever known. And in that moment, I was not afraid. As I lingered in the vastness of this boundless space, floating in the stillness of existence, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. There, amidst the infinite silence, a presence began to emerge, soft, subtle, yet unmistakably powerful. It was not a presence that arrived with noise, nor with a disturbance in the air, but one that settled into the space around me, like a gentle breeze that stirs the soul rather than the flesh. And then I saw him. He was a figure of light, radiant, pure, and full of an indescribable warmth. His presence was neither imposing nor distant. There was no grand entrance, no celestial fanfare. He simply was, as though he had always been. The light that emanated from him was not a harsh, blinding glow, but a gentle, encompassing light, the kind that invites and comforts. A light that does not overwhelm but embraces. I knew in that instant who he was. There was no introduction, no formalities. There was no need. The very core of my being recognized him as though some ancient memory had been awakened from the depths of my soul. It was Jesus Christ, the one whose name echoed through the corridors of time, whose teachings had transcended cultures, whose message had reached the hearts of countless souls. And yet, in this space, he was not just the figure from the stories of old. He was not confined to the pages of scripture or the confines of history. He was alive, present, not as a man of flesh and blood, but as a being of light, a divine presence whose wisdom transcended the limitations of time and form. As he approached, his gaze met mine. His eyes filled with compassion, understanding, and an infinite depth, pierced through me, reaching into the very core of my being. There was no judgment in his look, no scrutiny, only a profound sense of knowing, of seeing all that I was and all that I had been. In those eyes, I saw not only my own life, but the lives of all beings, their struggles, their pains, their hopes, and their dreams. I saw the universe itself reflected in the depths of his gaze. He did not speak to me with words, as we understand words. There were no syllables, no sounds, but there was a communication that transcended language, a knowing that penetrated deep into my heart. It was as though he spoke directly to my soul. And in that moment, I understood that every question I had ever asked, every doubt I had ever entertained, was no longer necessary. The truth I had sought for so many years, the wisdom I had searched for in ancient texts, in meditation, in quiet contemplation, all of it, was made clear in that instant. There were no more mysteries to unravel, no more riddles to solve. Everything I had wondered about the nature of existence, the path to enlightenment, the true nature of suffering, was revealed to me in a single profound moment of clarity. You seek truth, his voice resonated, but not in words as we know them. It was like the wind, soft, but with a power that reverberated through the very fabric of my being. But truth is not a destination. It is a path, a journey through understanding, and that understanding is not for one person alone. I felt the weight of his words settle upon me, not as a burden, but as a liberation. For in that moment I understood that truth was not something to be possessed, not something to be grasped by the mind or held in the hands. It was a path, a journey, not an arrival, a journey that was unfolding at every moment, not just in one person's life, but in the lives of all beings, in all things. It was a journey of awakening, of understanding, of seeing beyond the surface of things and recognizing the deeper, interconnected truth that bound all of existence together. In that moment, I saw the entirety of life, each person, each soul, as part of this great unfolding. Every thought, every action, every moment of history was interconnected, woven into the same tapestry of existence. And as I gazed upon this vision, it was as if I saw the very fabric of the universe itself being unraveled before me, layer by layer, each layer revealing a deeper truth, a deeper understanding. I saw the rise and fall of civilizations, the birth and death of stars, the gentle growth of trees, and the quiet passing of time. I saw the quiet suffering of individuals, the joy of those who awoke to the truth, the pain of those trapped in ignorance. It was as though I could see all of existence, the entire cosmos, stretching out before me, and I realized that everything was a part of this same journey, this same search for truth. There was no separation, no isolation. All was one, and one was all. But what struck me the most in that moment was the simplicity of it all. The path to truth was not a complicated one. It was not something that could be achieved through striving, through effort, through accumulation of knowledge. It was something that could only be lived. It was a journey of understanding, yes, but it was not a journey of the mind. It was a journey of the heart, of the soul, of the very being. The wisdom that radiated from Jesus was not an intellectual wisdom. It was a wisdom of presence, of being. It was a wisdom that flowed from the heart, a wisdom that transcended the limitations of language, of culture, of time. And as I stood before him, I realized that this wisdom was not reserved for a select few, but was available to all who were willing to open their hearts, to see beyond the surface of things, to see the interconnectedness of all life. You are a part of this, he said, though not with words. His message was not one of separation, but one of inclusion. You are a part of this great unfolding. You are not separate from it. You are it. And in that moment, I understood. I had spent my life seeking truth, seeking enlightenment, seeking wisdom. But what I had not understood was that I was not seeking something outside of myself. I was seeking myself. I was seeking to remember what I had always known, to awaken to the truth that had been within me all along. Jesus did not offer me a new teaching, a new doctrine, or a new path. What he offered was a reminder of what I had forgotten, a reminder of what I had always known deep within my soul. Truth was not something to be grasped or attained. It was something to be recognized, to be remembered. It was not something outside of us, but something within us, always present, always there, waiting to be awakened. And in that moment, I realized that the wisdom I had sought for so long had always been with me. It was not something that could be learned through books or teachings, but something that could only be felt, experienced, and lived. The truth was not a concept to be understood, but a reality to be embraced. As I stood before Jesus, his presence enveloping me in warmth and understanding, I felt a deep peace wash over me. The questions that had once troubled me, the doubts that had clouded my mind, were gone. There was only clarity, only understanding, only a profound sense of peace. I was not separate from the truth. I was one with it. And this truth, this understanding, was not mine alone. It was for all beings, for the entire universe. And in that moment, I understood that the journey of truth was not a solitary one. It was a shared journey, one that we all walk together, whether we realize it or not. The path of understanding, the path of awakening, is not one that is reserved for a few chosen individuals. It is a path that is open to all. All we must do is see. As Jesus stood before me, his light filling the vastness of the space, I knew that this was not the end of my journey. This was only the beginning. And it was a beginning that was not mine alone. It was the beginning of a journey for all of us, toward truth, toward understanding, toward the awakening of all beings. For we are all connected, and the truth we seek is the truth that is already within us. And with that realization, a peace like no other filled my heart. As I stood in the presence of Jesus, the warmth of his being surrounding me, I felt a gentle pull, as if something deeper was unfolding within the fabric of my awareness. It was not a forceful sensation, but one of invitation, an opening of the heart, a beckoning toward greater understanding. With a quiet motion of his hand, or perhaps with no motion at all, the vision began to unfold before me. The first thing I saw was vastness, an endless expanse of space stretching beyond the limits of my comprehension. I saw galaxies spinning gracefully, their arms unfurling like the petals of a cosmic flower. Stars were born, lived, and died in a rhythm that seemed to carry an intrinsic purpose, a purpose far beyond my ability to grasp. The planets, the moons, the comets, all were part of a grand design, each moving in harmony, as though the universe itself were a symphony, its movements composed in silence, played to the unseen ears of the cosmos. Do you see? Jesus' voice was soft, but its presence was absolute, as though the entire universe spoke through his words. All is connected. All moves together, not by chance, but by intention. The cosmos hums with a harmony you have yet to understand, but it is there, all around you. I saw mountains rise from the earth, majestic and unyielding, their peaks touching the heavens. Rivers wound their way through valleys, their waters flowing gracefully toward the oceans. An endless cycle of movement, of giving and receiving. Trees reached skyward, their roots firmly grounded in the earth, an embodiment of the principle of balance. Birds soared across the sky, their wings cutting through the air with effortless grace, as if they too understood the unspoken law of the world. Every leaf, Jesus continued, every stone, every breath of wind, it all plays a part in the symphony. And it is the same with you. You are not separate. You are the song. You are the music, the silence, the rhythm. And with those words, the vision expanded further. I began to see the smallest details of life. An ant crawling slowly along the forest floor, carrying food back to its colony, unaware of the vastness around it. A drop of water shimmering on a leaf, caught by the light of a distant star, the gentle sway of a branch as the wind caressed it. These were the moments I had so often overlooked, the humble, quiet moments of life. But now, in the fullness of this vision, I saw their deep significance. In the ant's movement, I saw the grace of the universe, each step it took part of an eternal dance, its purpose unknown to it, yet perfect in its execution. The leaf, with the light resting upon it, was a reflection of the divine, the beauty of the universe contained in something so small, so seemingly insignificant. And the branch swaying in the wind, how it moved with the breeze, how it yielded, yet did not break. It was a lesson in surrender, in the art of being, of allowing oneself to bend and flow with the currents of life. You are not outside of this. Jesus' voice was clear in my mind, not spoken aloud, but felt deeply within my heart. Every part of the universe, from the grandest star to the smallest insect, is an expression of truth. You are one with it. In the ant, in the leaf, in the wind, you see me. You see the truth of what is, but you must look, truly look, to see. And so I looked, deeper than I ever had before. I saw the turning of the seasons, the shift from spring to summer to autumn, and from autumn to winter. In each cycle, I understood a deeper meaning, how the universe, in its boundless wisdom, follows laws that are neither arbitrary nor random, but woven into the fabric of creation itself. It is not chaos that governs the world, but a profound order, a living intelligence that binds all things together. Do not mistake the appearance of disorder for chaos, Jesus continued. The chaos you see is not chaos at all. It is the law of change, the law of becoming. Everything must change. Everything must grow. Everything must return. In that moment, I saw the truth of his words. The apparent disorder of the world, the suffering, the pain, the wars, the struggles of humanity was not a sign of a broken world, but a sign of a world in the process of becoming. There was no mistake in the unfolding of creation. There was no error in the way the world moved, no flaw in the way the universe expressed itself. All was part of the same grand design, and even in the darkest moments, there was an underlying harmony, a purpose that transcended what we could see. The universe was not a mere collection of random events. It was a living, breathing entity, and each part of it, no matter how small, no matter how fleeting, had its place in the grand order of things. Each moment of life, whether joyful or sorrowful, was part of the symphony of existence, each note contributing to the whole. No moment was wasted, no action meaningless. Every movement was part of the unfolding of a greater purpose, a greater truth. Jesus' words resonated deeply within me as I watched the vision continue to expand. You are not apart from this. You are a part of it. Everything you experience, everything you feel is part of the greater whole. You are woven into the tapestry of the universe, and as you awaken to this truth, you awaken to your own divinity. I felt the weight of his words settle deeply into my being. Truth was not something that could be grasped by the intellect alone. It was not a concept that could be understood in a linear, logical way. It was something that could only be experienced, something that could only be felt in the heart. The universe, in all its vastness and complexity, was a reflection of ultimate truth, a truth that could not be separated from life itself. The truth you seek is not a thing to be attained, Jesus said gently. It is a reality to be recognized. It is not outside of you. It is inside of you. And once you awaken to that truth, you will see it everywhere. You will see it in the stars, in the rivers, in the trees, and in every person you meet. And as he spoke, I understood. The universe, in all its beauty and complexity, was a reflection of the divine. It was a manifestation of truth, of love, of interconnectedness. The same energy that moved the stars also moved within me and within every living being. We were not separate from it. We were it. In that moment, the vision deepened further. I saw myself, my life, my struggles, my journey, woven into the same grand tapestry. I was not apart from this truth, but a part of it. And as I saw the interconnectedness of all things, I felt a deep peace wash over me, a peace that came from knowing that I was not alone in this journey. The entire universe, in its beauty and its suffering, was a reflection of the same truth that lived within me. You are not alone, Jesus whispered, his voice gentle but filled with power. We are all one. The truth you seek is not distant. It is within you and within all things. Awaken to it and you will see. And in that moment I did. I saw. The vision shifted and the beauty of the universe slowly faded. The serene vastness gave way to a darker, more troubling reality. I found myself looking upon a world fraught with suffering, a world where human beings, bound by ignorance, stumbled blindly through life, lost in the maze of their own desires. I saw people, billions of them, trapped in cycles of self-interest, their hearts heavy with pride, fear, and greed. Nations clashed, not out of malice, but because they were blinded by their own misunderstandings, unable to see the deeper truths that bound them together. Leaders, consumed by their thirst for power, waged wars that led only to more suffering, more division. Do you see this? Jesus' voice cut through the darkness, quiet but firm. They suffer because they do not know. They fight because they do not understand. I saw cities crowded with people chasing after material wealth, their hearts empty, their eyes blind to the deeper meaning of life. The pursuit of riches consumed them, and in their hunger for possessions, they lost sight of the preciousness of life itself. They did not know the truth of interconnectedness, the truth that all things are bound together in a single, unbreakable unity. I saw individuals, each trapped in their own suffering, spiraling deeper into despair. They sought happiness in fleeting pleasures, in transient comforts, only to find themselves empty, longing for something they could not name. Families torn apart by misunderstandings, communities divided by hatred, all locked in an endless cycle of conflict and pain. You are witnessing the results of ignorance. Jesus spoke again, his voice filled with compassion and sorrow. They are lost, but they do not know they are lost. Their suffering is the fruit of their blindness. They do not see that the root of their pain lies in their ignorance of the truth, that all life is interconnected. I felt the weight of this truth, the deep sorrow that came with it. How many lives had been wasted in pursuit of things that did not matter? How many souls had been lost in the blind chase for something external, never realizing that the peace they sought was always within them? But there is hope, Jesus continued, his words like a light in the darkness. Though they are blind now, they can see. Though they are lost now, they can find their way. But they must awaken. They must break free from the chains of their own ignorance. And as I watched, I realized that humanity's ignorance was not just a personal failing, but a collective one. The suffering of one was the suffering of all. Each individual was a reflection of the whole, and the pain of the world was a reflection of their collective blindness. They must awaken to the truth, Jesus said, his voice growing more urgent, not just for themselves, but for all of creation. The world will not heal until they see the truth. They must see that all is connected, that what harms one harms all. Until they recognize this, they will remain trapped in their cycles of suffering. I saw a man, his face wrinkled with age, his hands shaking as he clutched at a pile of gold. The gold gleamed, but his eyes were empty. He had everything, yet he had nothing. And in that moment, I saw the truth of his life. He was a symbol of the emptiness that consumed the world, a world where people sought fulfillment in material things, never understanding that true wealth is not found in possessions, but in the knowledge of the interconnectedness of all life. I saw a woman standing on the edge of a cliff, looking out at the horizon, her face filled with longing. She sought something beyond what the world could offer, but she did not know what. Her heart was broken, and yet she did not understand that the emptiness she felt was not because she lacked something external, but because she was disconnected from the truth of her own existence. And as I saw these scenes unfold before me, I understood. Humanity had the potential to break free from its chains, to awaken from its slumber, but they could not do it alone. They needed the truth. They needed the knowledge that Jesus had shown me, that all life is interconnected, that suffering arises from ignorance, and that the way to peace is through understanding. Awaken them, Jesus said, his voice like a whisper of the wind, for only through awakening can they heal. Only through understanding can they break free. The urgency of his words rang in my heart, and I felt a deep sorrow for the world. Yet I also felt a surge of hope. The potential for awakening was there. The light of truth could reach even the darkest corners of the world. But it would require those who had seen the truth to share it, to guide others toward the path of understanding. I looked once more upon the suffering of the world. There was so much pain, so much confusion, but I knew now that it was not a permanent condition. It was not the way things were meant to be. If humanity could awaken, if they could see the truth of their connection to each other and to all of creation, the suffering would end, the ignorance would fade, and the world would heal. And as I stood there in the presence of Jesus, I understood what I had to do. The knowledge I had been given, the truth I had seen, was not mine to keep. It was mine to share. It was my responsibility to help awaken others, to show them the path of understanding, to guide them toward the light. The world needs you, Jesus said softly. It needs you to awaken so that others may awaken. And with those words, I knew my purpose. The world was waiting. The suffering was real, but the solution was within reach. It was time to go back. It was time to share the truth. Yes, Lord, I whispered. I will go. I stood in the vastness of the presence, feeling both the peace of the infinite and the weight of the world below. The knowledge I had received, the wisdom of the interconnectedness of all things, had filled my being. Yet, even as I basked in this divine understanding, a voice, powerful yet gentle, resounded in my soul. It was Jesus, speaking not with words, but with the very essence of his being, a message that pierced through my heart. You have seen the universe, he spoke, his voice as soft as the wind, yet unshakably firm, and you have seen the struggles of humankind. Now it is your turn to return. His words reverberated in the silence, and I felt their weight deeply. I had witnessed the beauty and the agony of the world, the light and the darkness. But now I knew that this knowledge was not meant to be kept within the confines of my soul. It was a flame that needed to be passed on, to burn brightly in the hearts of others. You must share what you have learned, he continued, his voice growing with the urgency of the moment, to awaken others, to show them the path of truth and understanding. Your work is not finished. The words were clear. I had been shown the path, the truth, and the way to peace. But the world that I had once known, was still trapped in its blindness, still bound by suffering, still lost in confusion, and it needed what I had been given. The peace of this realm, the tranquility of the understanding I had attained, felt like a sanctuary. I longed to remain, to rest in the boundless serenity, but I also knew deep within my heart that I could not stay. Lord, I whispered, my heart torn. I am not ready to return. This peace, this understanding, it is unlike anything I have ever known. How can I leave it behind? Jesus' eyes softened, and he spoke again, his voice a mixture of compassion and authority. The peace you have found is not a place, Sejong. It is a truth that lives within you, and that truth must be shared. You have seen the suffering of the world, the ignorance that binds them. You cannot stay here. You must go back to them, to show them the path to peace. I felt the weight of his words in my soul. My mind rebelled against the idea of returning to the world of suffering, to the struggle, to the confusion. But the wisdom I had received was not mine to keep. It was a light meant to shine in the darkness, to guide others toward the truth. You are not alone in this mission, Jesus said, his voice calm and resolute. The truth will guide you, and you will find others who are ready to hear it. You will not be without help. But the world, I said, my voice trembling, is full of so much pain, so much ignorance. How can one man, how can I make a difference? Jesus' gaze softened, his eyes filled with an eternal compassion. One person can change the world. Do not underestimate the power of truth. It is a seed that once planted will grow in ways you cannot yet see. You are the messenger, but the truth is what will heal them. I felt a rush of clarity, a deep knowing. Yes, the world was full of suffering. Yes, the path was difficult. But now I understood. The truth was not a thing to be hoarded, it was to be given. To awaken others, to show them the way, was the highest calling. I will go back, I said, my voice steady now, firm with resolve. I will spread the truth of interconnectedness, of wisdom, of understanding. I will teach them to see the world as it truly is, to see each other as they truly are. Jesus smiled, his presence a warm, radiant light that filled the space. Good, he said, his voice full of love. Go then, and remember, you are never alone. I am with you always. In that moment, a deep peace settled over me. I knew my mission. I knew my purpose. I had been given a gift, and I was entrusted with the responsibility to share it. The truth was the light that would guide the lost, tap the suffering, the confused, and I, Sejong, would carry that light into the world. With a final look at Jesus, I bowed deeply, my heart full of gratitude and resolve. I will go, Lord. I will go and share the truth with all who will listen. And in that moment, I knew the path ahead would not be easy, but I was no longer afraid. I had seen the truth, and that truth, the light of understanding, would guide me always. I awoke, not in the serene stillness of the vastness I had left behind, but in the familiar surroundings of the temple. The cold floor beneath me, the faint scent of incense lingering in the air, the sound of soft prayers murmuring in the distance. All of it was so real, so solid. My chest burned and a sharp pain tore through me. I gasped for air, drawing in each breath as if it were the most precious thing in the world. I was alive. The monks who had gathered around me watched with astonishment. Their eyes were wide, faces filled with both relief and wonder. They had thought me lost, my body having succumbed to the illness that had claimed my life. But I was not the same. I could feel it deeply. I could feel the immense shift within me, the weight of wisdom that had been entrusted to me in that sacred space, and the clarity of understanding that now resided within my mind and heart. The veil that had once clouded my vision had lifted. The world before me, though unchanged in its outward form, now held a deeper meaning. I could see through the layers of illusion, and I knew the path ahead was not one of personal comfort or tranquility. No, it was a path of service, of awakening, of sharing the truth that I had witnessed with my very soul. Sejong, the head monk said, his voice filled with awe. We thought we had lost you. You were gone for so long. What happened? What did you see? I took a deep breath, my mind racing to form the words that would adequately convey what I had experienced. But how could words, simple and fleeting as they were, capture the vastness of what I had encountered? Still, I had a duty to share, to teach, to awaken those around me to the deeper truth that now burned in my heart. I have seen the nature of the universe, I said, my voice steady but filled with a quiet passion. I have seen the interconnectedness of all things, the truth that binds us, that binds everything together. And I have seen the suffering of the world, the ignorance that causes it. My brothers, we are not separate from one another. We are all part of a great whole, each of us contributing to the harmony of the universe. The monks listened intently, their faces a mixture of curiosity and reverence. I continued, knowing that the message I had received was too vital, too urgent to keep to myself. The suffering of the world comes from our ignorance, I said. We have separated ourselves from the truth, from one another. We cling to desires, to pride, to fear. We see ourselves as isolated, as individual beings, when in truth we are all interconnected. Every thought, every action ripples out into the world. And if we do not awaken to this truth, we will continue to cause suffering, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. I paused, the weight of the message settling in my heart. I could feel the truth of it, as if it were written into the very fabric of the universe. It was a truth that had been revealed to me by the presence of Christ, by the wisdom he had shared. And now it was my responsibility to share it with the world. You must see beyond the surface, I continued, my voice growing more urgent. Beyond the distinctions of race, of culture, of status. These are illusions. They blind us to the reality of our interconnectedness. The path to peace, to wisdom, is not found in the pursuit of personal gain, but in the awakening to the truth of all things. The monks nodded, their faces reflecting a deep sense of contemplation. They had seen my transformation, the change in my being, and they knew that something profound had taken place. But it was not enough for me to simply share these teachings with them. The world beyond the temple needed to hear this message. I began to travel beyond the temple, sharing my message with all who would listen. I spoke to travelers, to villagers, to those in cities and towns. I taught the importance of wisdom, the need to transcend personal desires, and the deep interconnectedness of all life. The more I spoke, the more I realized that the truth was not mine to hold. It was a gift that had been entrusted to me, to be shared with others. I told them of the universe, the boundless, infinite cosmos that existed beyond our limited perceptions. I spoke of how every being, every creature, every element was woven together in a vast tapestry, each thread contributing to the whole. There was no separation. There was only unity. And I spoke of Jesus, of his message of truth and love, of how he had shown me the path to understanding. I shared the wisdom he had revealed to me, that truth was not a destination, but a journey. It was something to be experienced, something to be lived. And I shared his call to awaken others, to break free from the chains of ignorance and suffering. As I traveled, my message began to take root. At first, only a few listened, their hearts open to the wisdom I shared. But soon, the seeds I had planted began to grow. People came to me, asking for guidance, seeking understanding. I saw in their eyes the same hunger that I had once felt, the desire for something deeper, something true. In time, my teachings began to spread, not just within the borders of the temple or the nearby villages, but across lands and cultures. I was no longer just a monk. I had become a teacher, a guide to understanding the nature of reality itself. People came from far and wide to hear my words, and as I spoke, I saw their faces change. I saw them awaken to the truth that had once been hidden from their eyes. Sejong, a traveler said to me one day, his voice filled with gratitude, "Your teachings have changed my life. I see the world differently now. I see the connections between all things. I understand that the suffering I have endured is not just my own. It is part of the suffering of all, and I can do something about it." This was the true power of wisdom, not in the knowledge itself, but in its ability to awaken others. As I had once been shown the truth, now others were beginning to see it too. The interconnectedness of all things, the need to awaken, to transcend personal suffering, was spreading. And though my work was far from over, I knew that the seeds I had planted would continue to grow. The message of wisdom, of interconnectedness, of understanding, these were not just my words. They were the words of the universe itself. They were the truth that had been revealed to me, and now I was simply passing it on. In time, I became known not just as a monk, but as a teacher of the deepest truths of existence. My name, Sejong, was spoken with reverence, for I had become a guide, a beacon of light in a world still mired in darkness. And though my body grew older, my spirit remained ever young, for I had found the truth that transcends all things, truth that would live on long after my time on this earth had passed. The world, once blind, was now beginning to see, and it was my mission, my sacred duty, to help them see the interconnectedness of all things, to show them the path of wisdom and peace, and to remind them that we are all one. And so I continue to walk this path, sharing the light I have been given with all who will listen, knowing that each step I take brings us closer to the truth that binds us all.